everyone. Welcome to episode 38 of the Never Split Up podcast. My name's Nolan, that's Anthony, and today we are reviewing the OG Friday the 13th, released in 1980. How you doing today, Ant?
I'm doing good. I'm ready for Friday the 13th coming up on Friday, so this is a good episode to have dropped this week.
Indeed. We are releasing this episode on Wednesday the 11th, and then we have, obviously, Friday the 13th coming up. Once we saw that Friday the 13th was going to be in October, I think we both knew that we had to cover this movie, at least something with this franchise. And I'm glad we're starting with the OG movie before we do any rankings or anything. I think this is the way to go. So I'm excited for this. Do you want to talk about the synopsis and get right into it? We don't have any announcements, right?
Nope. Just go to our Twitter. You guys can keep up to date, or Twitter or Instagram, keep up to date on our schedule. Next week, so we're doing a fun little Halloween episode. We're both going to talk about some of our favorite Halloween themed horror movies. So get your list ready because we want to hear from you guys as well. There's a crap ton of Halloween themed horror movies. It's going to be actually pretty hard to come up with my favorites. But yeah, that's coming up next week. We're trucking along. October's flying by, but we finally have that chill in the air where we are. So I'm loving it. I'm thriving right now. But yeah, let's get into Friday the 13th. Let's not waste any time. I'll give you guys a synopsis. This movie came out in 1980, obviously right off the heels of the huge success of the OG Halloween, the granddaddy of slashers. So this is the first of many. I don't like the term ripoffs, but it's pretty much what it is. Like imitators, it's just what happens when one movie's successful. Hollywood tries to copy it. But this was obviously one of the most successful ones to follow Halloween. So it's directed by Sean S. Cunningham, and the synopsis is a group of camp counselors trying to reopen a summer camp called Crystal Lake, which has a grim past, are stalked by a mysterious killer. Obviously, everyone listening knows the synopsis to Friday the 13th, but it was written by Victor Miller and Ron Kurtz, and this is the whole issue with the franchise is Victor Miller and Sean S. Cunningham. So I think they might have figured something out, but figure that shit out. I want a Friday the 13th movie in the theater. I'm over all that shit. I know we're getting a TV show, but I'm ready to get back. I want Jason on the big screen. He would blow the roof off the box office.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it stars Adrienne King as Alice. She's our main character, final girl. We have Kevin Bacon in a nice meaty role in this one. He's awesome, he's always awesome, Kevin Bacon. And we have the iconic Betsy Palmer, who plays Mrs. Voorhees and does not get enough recognition. So I mean, then we have a bunch of, disposable teens who are there to get killed. So that's just the rest of the cast. But that's why we love Friday the 13th. Yeah, man. 1980, it did very well on the heels of Halloween. And low budget, super low budget, made a lot of money, and that's why we have so many movies in this franchise.
So many movies, and we need more. So let's get that shit figured out. It's been 14 years now. 2009 was when we got that remake. Mm-hmm. So this has got to be by far the longest drought we've had since the inception of this franchise. 14 years is a long time.
Yeah, it is. No, it is, yeah.
Yeah, we need to get that figured out. I believe I think they have it figured out. The writer, he has his claim for the OG because he wrote this OG movie, but it's weird because this movie doesn't have Jason.
I know.
Really, so he doesn't really have claim to Jason, so that's where it gets tricky. I think that's what they're trying to figure out. So
it's too much of a mess. They're going to have to suck it up and work together, or else the movie's not going to make money.
Yeah, and I know they're coming out with the TV show. It's like a prequel. That looks cool, but I want to see Jason back on the big screen. I think that's what the people want.
Man.
We've talked about this before. It's going to probably break box office when it happens. It's been so long. It depends what they do. Like I'm assuming they're going to do another remake, which is unfortunate, but maybe they go like a sequel or a requel route and they pick a timeline because there's so many different inconsistencies with these sequels that you can just kind of maybe pick your own timeline. But yeah, that'll be interesting for sure. But for now, let's stick to the OG. I'm excited to talk about this movie, and happy Friday the 13th, everybody. I want to hear your overall thoughts. Okay. And then I'll go into my overall thoughts.
Okay, cool. Oh yeah, this movie is hard to talk about because I've seen it endless times, so I don't know, it's hard to critique it. I mean, this is literally, the name of the movie is Friday the 13th, where they had to pick a holiday just like Halloween was Halloween. I mean, they really, 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 really stuck to the playbook with Halloween with this one. But it's part of its charm. I like it. I love this movie. I mean, I don't like it. I love it. It's fucking Friday the 13th. It's awesome. The score is great. It has it goes even the POV shots of Halloween it has, but that's what I love about these 80s, these late 70s, early 80s movies. They feel like they're in that time period. I'm a Jersey boy. We're both Jersey boys, so have a soft place in my heart for this movie. It was filmed in Jersey. It takes place in Jersey. It has those camp vibes that we love around here. I think Alice is a fine final girl. She's nowhere near my favorite. She's not even my favorite final girl in this franchise, but she holds her own and she kicks some ass at the end. She's kind of stupid, but she kicks ass at the same time. I love the opening scene when it takes place at 1958, when you get the camp counselors by the fire, and they're telling, typical telling a story, and then the two go to hook up, and then, they both get killed. I love that. I just think that it has everything you want in a slasher movie, and the ending to this one, everyone forgets that it's all about Pamela Voorhees. It's not about Jason. That's what differentiates it from Halloween, is we don't even get the, quote-unquote Michael Myers copycat Jason until the sequel. We find out there's a little twist that it's Pamela. It's Jason's mom. She's taking revenge because her son supposedly drowned, and now she takes revenge on every camp counselor who comes, I guess, to try to reopen the place. But, I like that little twist. The kills are awesome. I want to shout out Tom Savini. He's an iconic special effects guy in the horror industry, and he killed it with this. The one thing they did, because it was the 80s, they did up the blood. And I feel like that's also what differentiates it from the original Halloween. They had to do something. Mm-hmm. And this is the movie you go to for the schlocky, bloody kills versus Halloween, which is all about the suspense and the stalking and the boogeyman. So that's where there's some suspense in this too, but it really is about those kills. I mean, my favorite kill in the movie is the iconic Kevin Bacon kill. I mean, he's known for his death scene in this movie. It's fucking awesome. Through the neck. I love that scene. I actually like I don't mind the characters. The nerd dude is so annoying. I wish we got to actually see him get killed. I can't remember. What's his name again? Ned. Yeah, Ned. Fucking Ned, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's typical, like, you got the hot couple, you got the nerd, you got the girl who's trying to do good, you get they have the stereotypes in this, but that's why we love it. I love this movie. There's not much to say besides, if you want a slasher movie and an 80s slasher movie, you're not going to really go wrong with this. I don't even want to say if it's my favorite in the franchise, because I know for a fact we're going to rank this franchise at some point, so I'm not going to give that away, but we got Crazy Ralph running around talking nonsense. I mean, come on. There's so much fun to have in this movie. Yeah, I love this movie. I love the vibe. I really have a good time with it. It's Friday the 13th. And I like how we don't get Jason until the sequel. I like that this movie takes its time and we get the lore. The lore builds up. So when Jason does come in the sequel, we're like, ooh. So I love this movie. What about you?
Cool. I just have a quick question. You say you've seen this movie countless times. Without giving away if it's your favorite or not, is this like the one movie in the franchise that you've probably seen the most? Like, is this your go-to during, like, whenever a Friday the 13th holiday comes around? Or
that's
like, what's your default Friday movie?
I'm a continuity asshole, so I like watching things in order. So this movie cheats a little bit. Psycho, because it's the first one.
Okay,
but no, I've seen part 2 is up there too.
Okay.
Obviously, guess. Part 2 is up there too. No, I mean the original trilogy is like the first 4 are probably the ones I've seen the most. If I had to get down to it, the first 4.
Yeah, I know everyone has like their guilty pleasure Friday movie that they've seen more than any other movie. So I was just curious. Okay, cool.
I know your favorite one.
I'm surprised. Yeah, we'll save that. I've not hidden that very good in this podcast, so I don't think that's going to be a shocker to all the listeners. But my overall thoughts. I'm really happy to say that instead of liking, you said that you loved this movie a few times. Yeah. I wasn't quite sure. We've talked about this franchise as a whole, but I'll be interested to hear your score at the end as well. What you think of the OG movie, because it is so different. There's no Jason in it. And it is Pamela. I think it's a solid slasher. I think it's very atmospheric and fun, which is what I want from my 80s slashers. I know they had a shoestring budget, but I think they do well with what they had working for them. I thought the practical effects were pretty cool. Some of the like the sloats, the throat slit of Annie is pretty iconic to me, because it's like in the daylight and you just see it like front and center. I think that's cool. It does borrow from a lot of movies. We can spend a whole episode just talking about that in and of itself, but we don't have to do that. But it doesn't try to be something it's not at the same time. It almost acknowledges it doesn't break a fourth wall or everything, but it knows it's borrowing and it just kind of does it, and it doesn't try to like elevate itself, which I actually appreciate. Oh, no. You mentioned the score. I love the score. I think the score is really what kind of sets that atmosphere for this movie. The POV shots of the killer with the score is so cool, and I love how I don't have the gentleman's name. I forget his name who composed the movie, but I love how he fades out the music right before the kills, and there's like that build up where there's no score. I think that adds some suspense and tension right before the kills. Do you have the name? I saw you were looking.
Harry Manfredini. Yeah, he did the. I don't know if he just did the first one or the first couple, but yeah, he killed it.
Yeah, really effective. Really, not groundbreaking, but you get that key ma 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 from the very beginning. Yeah. So that's prevalent throughout the entire franchise, and it happens pretty much, I think, in the opening sequence, like the first POV shot. You get that. So, where was I? Yeah, the ending is really strong. I think the ending of this movie is definitely the highlight for me. It's the strongest part of the movie for me. I have some issues with the movie. I don't think it's a perfect movie, and even by slasher standards, I know slashers have different standards, at least for me, because they're not supposed to be perfect. They're just fun. But I do think it struggles a bit with misusing its characters. I do want to get into that when we get into the review. And I also have a nitpick with a little... I don't know if I would call it a pacing issue, but I have a little bit of a nitpick. I wish it was paced a little better in terms of the counselors and how oblivious they are, if that makes sense. Like, nobody knows what's happening until the very end when it's just Alice alive. I wish we got a little bit more of like Alice with the other counselors kind of freaking the fuck out because they find all these dead bodies, but we don't get that.
Okay.
But that's just like little nitpicks for me, but I want to get into that more when we do the review. I really like this movie. I obviously recommend it for all slasher fans. It's one of the quintessential early slashers that you have to watch if especially an 80s slasher fan, and it spawned countless sequels, and it's just iconic. The ending is iconic. You mentioned the cast. Kevin Bacon, Betsy Palmer is awesome as Pamela. I love her so much. And Crazy Ralph. We don't get enough of Crazy Ralph, unfortunately, but he's fun too. But yeah, I really like this movie. Let's get into it. I'm excited to talk about this movie. So it starts off. We got the setting in New Jersey, like you said. We're Jersey boys, so repping New Jersey, and they filmed it on location in New Jersey, so that's always cool.
Yep.
I believe it's a Boy Scout camp now, but that's really cool. Question: what do you think about the overall? I talked about the atmosphere. What do you agree with me in terms of how like what do you think of the overall setting and the atmosphere of the movie? Because I think that's what like is the reason why it's so iconic. These movies is the camp setting.
I love it. Yeah, I love this. Yeah. I have no complaints. I love this setting. It's perfect for this kind of movie. Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Yeah, I agree. We talked about this briefly on our summer movie episode when we talked about this franchise. I think it's perfect. You can watch it in the fall, like we are right now, Friday the 13th, October, and you could watch it in the summer. Obviously, it's a summer movie. I think it's perfect too. Because I
want to have it playing like outside by a fire. I want to just light a fire like in a fire pit and have it playing. That's how I'd put on a hoodie and just watch it outside. That's what I feel like when I watch this original.
Yeah, but it's a summer camp, but I know they filmed it in like October or November, so it did have those chilly vibes as well. So I think that's why it does
especially
so well.
At night.
You can watch it like pretty much throughout the year and have a good time with it, and you can kind of get
100%. It's a summer and a fall movie.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I like the small, like before we get to the camp when the one girl Annie's like trying to hitch a ride, like it's a small town vibe. I don't know, it's something special about it. It really helps the movie.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Annie,
Oh, I love her.
I know.
Why is she not the final girl?
I know. Well, that was my follow-up question. It's been talked about, but I have to bring it up. Annie should have been the final girl. I think.
Fucking love her.
I think what little screen time she had, she really shined in that character. Just seeing that character and how carefree and innocent she was hitchhiking, it would have been really cool to see her progress through the movie and become a final girl, to go from that to be a final girl. And I really think they dropped the ball with that, and that's kind of my first example of them misusing characters. Like you said, wow, Alice is fine. Like, she's not bad.
I like Alice. Yeah.
I like Alice. She's a pretty smart final girl. She's not a complete ditz. She's a fine final girl. I just think Alice would have been cool with Annie. Like, if Annie survived and they kind of survived together, or they battled Pamela together. I don't mind Alice at all. I just think that Annie could have been, and I get what they were doing. No character is safe. The old trope that you're gonna kill off one of the main characters early on.
Right.
So I understand, and I also think they used it because we had the opening sequence with the kills, and then I think they knew that they weren't gonna get kills for the rest of the movie. It was gonna take a while, so they used Annie as like a filler to like get a death on screen.
Right.
Does that make sense? And I think that's kind of, they kind of use that as like a makeshift, like to fix some of the pacing of this movie, to keep the audience engaged. But it just sucks that she did so well. And it's like, again, it's not a knock on Adrienne King and Alex. It's just, I believe her name is, I have it here, Robbie Morgan. She does so well. It's hard not to envision her as a final girl.
Well, she made that dumb move and she got in the stranger's car and hitchhiked. I will say, to the movie's credit, that usually after the opening scene in these kind of slashers, we're introduced to our female protagonist, who is the final girl. So they did kind of do, that's why I think I was rooting for, like, oh, she's going to be our final girl. And then it's like 5 minutes and I'm like, oh no, she's getting chased already. Yeah. What's happening? And then she dies. So I will give the movie credit for that, because, I mean, after the opening scene of Halloween, we're introduced to Laurie Strode. Like, oh, that's our girl. After the opening scene of Scream, we're introduced to Sidney Prescott. Oh, that's our girl. Friday the 13th, we're introduced to a girl, but unfortunately, she's not our final girl, even though I really wanted her to be.
Yeah.
I like her little chase through the woods, though, because I was really rooting for her the entire time. Like, girl, don't stop. Keep going. But yeah, she made that mistake in getting in that Jeep. No.
And I like when movies do the unexpected as well, and I like how they, changed it up, the formula. But there's also a reason that we root for final girls, and maybe that formula works for a reason. Seeing those girls right after the opening sequence, seeing Laurie Strode, Sidney Prescott in their everyday life, you're building that character instantly, so you're along for the ride the whole way. So part of me is like, I appreciate that they took a swing and they kind of changed up the formula, but sometimes it's like, maybe the formula works for a reason. If that makes sense,
right? Or maybe, if, like, to your credit, what you said, if they both made it to the end and then Pamela kills one of them at the end, that would have been even more impactful. Yeah. Than only one still makes it out. They could have still killed Annie, but maybe at the end when she's fighting instead of the beginning, or they could have killed Alice instead, and Annie could have, one of them. And they did do that in the remake, though, and I was upset with who they killed, so I don't know.
yeah, they did, and it just makes me upset too that Annie never made it to camp. So in everyone else's eyes, she's a no-show. And it's like, Annie would never do that. Annie's a sweetheart. She would never no-show to a job.
Well, she got warned by the guy who took her from the restaurant, don't go there, and then she still got hitchhiked and went there. I mean, she did make a couple of dumb mistakes. So
yeah,
pay the price.
That guy, I don't remember his.
It was like Anus or something, like Anus or something like that. Like some like
right
redneck name.
That's really the only what do you call it, exposition that we get in this movie. He warns Annie that
until Pamela comes on scene.
Until the reveal of Pamela, but before Pamela, the only thing we know is that, and we get obviously the prologue, but then we get that little boy drowned, and then a year later, counselors were murdered. That's it. So we don't get, Jason. We don't get any of that mythology until kind of the end of the movie, when she's hearing her son and she's talking about her son. So I think that's pretty interesting too. I'm not saying I don't like it. I actually think I like it. It's because you don't quite know, what's going on. You kind of assume that it could be the little boy taking revenge, and I love the reveal of Pamela. We could talk about that when we get to it, not to jump around too much, but it's totally, and I love the reveal because Alice just like melts into her arms because it's like this motherly figure, and I love that this movie represents females as a villain because we don't get enough of that in the horror genre. So, and I think it plays on that because Alice just instantly like trusts her. So I love how they do that. But you assume it's a guy the whole time, and that's kind of why it's so iconic. I think you get this woman who's responsible for all these kills. So,
for sure, yeah, the way it's shot, they even like they're trying. I mean, obviously, it was probably a dude doing all that. They shoot it like we're watching a dude, like from the shadows and from the way they just show his legs. It looks like a dude the whole time. They're like, oh shit, it's Pamela.
Yeah.
So obviously that's done on purpose because we're led to believe it's either Jason or someone taking revenge doing so. It's a dude. But nope, it's Pamela.
Yeah,
you
see his.
She does not get enough credit.
You see his hands every now and then, and it definitely looks like a guy's hands. But I chalk that up to they probably just hired like one stunt guy to do all the stunts to save money, and he was the guy who
they can pull it off. I mean, they can pull it off. Yeah, I'd buy it. But yeah, so rest in peace, Annie.
yes, and yeah, just
she has a good throat slit though.
Oh yeah, so good. Too innocent and too trusting. She hops right in that Jeep.
She's naive.
Doesn't ask any questions whatsoever. Just is like, take me to the camp. That's like, you're not even gonna. And I know people were more trusting back then, and that was more common.
She says not one word. Like, no, there's no like. She doesn't even open. She just opens the door and gets in. Like, there's no communication.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck?
I know. Oh, poor Annie.
Poor Annie. So then we go to the camp right after that. Well, so we have Ned, Jack, Bill, Marcy, Brenda, and Alice. I think that's the crew. Oh, Steve Christie. He's like the owner or like the head. Yeah. Steve Christie. What a loser and waste, too.
What? Explain yourself.
I don't like Steve Christie for some reason. He's just telling everyone to get to work. He's not doing shit. I'm like, dude, you get to work, bro.
Yeah. Well, I ask you that because he is another example for me of slight misusing characters. I think his character is interesting, and the guy who plays him is Peter Brower. I think he did a decent job in his acting, and I don't think we get enough of him. I wish he was kind of at the camp more when the killings were happening.
Right, because he pretty much leaves for supplies and then doesn't. Once he returns, it's already raining, and he gets killed. Like, I do like that when he walks out of the car and you can tell he's like in shock. He's like, "Oh, are you okay?" Because obviously it's Pamela. And I like when the light just flashes and we don't see him die, but I'm fine with that. I do like that shot. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're right. He leaves the camp and it's raining, so he stops at the diner. He stops at the diner and eats instead of getting back. He's an asshole. Like, get back with those supplies and help him out. Like, what are you doing, dude?
He is
rolling around town eating and chilling.
The rest of these characters are so cookie cutter that him and Alice have a history, and they really don't expand upon that. It would have been nice to see him reunite with Alice at the end, at least for a little bit before he dies.
Who's your favorite out of the crew besides Alice and Steve? Of the rest of the gang, I like Jack and Marcy. They're fun.
Yeah, that's an easy one. I think Jack and Marcy, for sure.
Yeah,
Brenda is. Yeah,
Brenda's alright.
Bill's okay. Brenda's okay. Really,
Brenda's
it's really
fun.
for
she tries
me.
To spice it up.
For me, it's Alice, and then
spice it up.
It's
okay,
kind of
Alice.
everyone else.
Okay. Yeah, I don't mind any. I mean, I don't hate any of it. Well, besides Ned's a pain in the ass. I don't hate anybody, but they're all pretty. Typical.
Yeah, me too.
But Brenda tries to spice it up with some strip poker. She tries to have some fun.
Yeah. No, strip Monopoly.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's even better. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's interesting. I'd strip Monopoly. You're right. Yeah. So funny. So yeah, we just pretty much get. Oh, then we have after they start getting into it and getting ready, they have some fun. They swim a little bit, but then that's when Crazy Ralph comes around and does this whole, you're all doomed, you're all going to die. So I do like Crazy Ralph too. You gotta love Crazy Ralph.
Yeah, he's cool. He's got a couple iconic lines. Yeah, I like him.
He does for sure, and he's trying to warn them. I mean, hey.
I know, poor Crazy Ralph. We call him Crazy Ralph, but he's not so crazy. You know?
No, he's not so crazy.
Definitely not so crazy. I just love how we get an update.
What do you think about
Ralph.
What do you think about the precedent set in this one, where like most of the movies, aside from one of your movies, happens when they're prepping the camp and not when kids are at the camp? How do you feel about that?
I like it. I like it for this movie in particular. I think
too.
it lets us focus on the characters more, and it gives you that isolated vibe of being out in the middle of nowhere.
I agree.
Because, like you said before, you have the small town vibe, but even the small town is pretty far away from the camp itself. You know, and then you add in the torrential rainstorm, and the roads are pretty much
so good.
not. You can't really. I mean, you saw that Steve and his Jeep got stuck. So they're out in the middle of nowhere pretty much. I believe at one point it's Bill who says they have it would be like a 10-mile hike to get to the interstate or something like that. Yeah, so
something like that.
I like it. I think it works for this movie for sure with the atmosphere and everything.
Okay, I agree 100% because I like how we're getting with our characters. It would be too much, and they're getting it ready, so it's isolated. If there was all the kids there, I think it'd be too much, and it would take away from our little crew. But I love the rain in this movie. I actually rewatched. I have like the 4K. And you could see, like, once, I think it was once around, like, Jack and Marcy scene, you actually see you can see those raindrops so high quality in the 4K. I felt it. I'm like, damn, this is awesome. I love when it rains in a horror movie, specifically this one, because they're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So good. What about, I mean, talk about a ripoff. I mean, you can say the title, and they were probably like, we just need a title that's a holiday because Halloween killed it. The only reason we know it's Friday the 13th is because it says it on screen. They don't bring it really into it. Like, they don't really say, like, anything about Friday the 13th that much.
Well, they
like, I thought
do.
That should have been more of
they actually do say that it does take place.
They do, but it's not.
But it has nothing to do with the story, if that's what you're saying.
Right. Like, it pops up, but it's like, I wanted more. Maybe they're at the cabin, like, ooh, like, it's Friday. Like, they don't even, like, talk about it. Like, ooh, spooky night or something. Like, they don't say it that much. It's just.
I don't think they say it at all. I actually think it pops up present day. It says Friday the 13th.
Oh, it only says
June.
It just says the date.
Yeah.
That's the only reason we know it's Friday the 13th because it has it on the screen. But like no one talks about it. Mm-hmm. I was like, damn, I could have done a little bit of like. That's how you know
at
they just try
a little. Yeah. Yeah.
Like have a spooky story about that or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I wish
it doesn't bother me. I just wish they did that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it doesn't bother me either. Because we know what's going on, Right. And I guess it's like we know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. So why even try to pretend? So yeah, I don't mind it. But I do wish we got like one scene of like them, kind of similar to the first scene in the 50s where they're kind of all huddled around. I wish I wish we got like one like cool campfire scene. We did get that in the remake, which I enjoyed a lot.
We get that in part 2 as well.
We get that in part 2, but for this first movie, it would have been cool to kind of see like more camaraderie because they kind of split up right away.
Right.
Jack and...
Right, they have their day at the pool pretty much, and that's it.
Yeah.
Jack and Marcy.
Yeah, they split up, and then you have the other 3 are playing Strip Monopoly. Steve split up. So they're kind of all split up, and I understand why they do it to allow Pamela to go on her killing spree, but... I wish we kind of got, because when they're all together, they're kind of just working, and then they have the one dock scene, and other than the dock scene, that's pretty much it. I think that would have really helped flesh out the characters and make you care a little bit more for them.
Right. They just wanted to get to the goods. They wanted to get to the kills. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, Ned goes off on his own first so he can exit the movie. Thank God.
Yeah.
Fucking Ned. I do love the Jack and Marcy scene, though. It's fucking awesome. It's so awesome.
So that's your favorite sequence. That's your favorite kill.
My favorite sequence is definitely the final act with the chase with Alice and all that.
Well, your favorite kill sequence.
My favorite kills,
I should say,
is because Jack and Marcy, they're having sex in the rain, and then they go inside. So they go inside to have sex because it's raining, and I love after she leaves to go to the bathroom, and then I love. As they're having sex, that's when the camera pulls back and you see Ned's body up top. I love that shot. Love it. So good. But I love after she leaves, because we don't know. I thought Kevin Bacon, I thought she was going to die first. But then I love how Kevin Bacon doesn't even get out of bed. and that's where he dies. He just pulls his head back. I love that. That's the best kill in the movie. But Marcy's kill is awesome too with the axe.
Yes.
They're both, and hers is a little extended. She like hears that creepy noise, that creepy voice that Pamela's doing. I do like that too. So I would say those are both the strongest kills, and it has some suspense, specifically Marcy's. But I think Kevin Bacon, Jax, just takes the cake out of the shock of it going through his freaking throat. I love it.
Yeah. No, I agree. He has the best kill for sure because it's just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is out of
No,
nowhere.
I like it.
I love how he looks up. The blood starts dripping from Ned's body, and then he looks up, and then that's when she gets him. So good.
Marcy's kill is cool. It is suspenseful. It's not the most suspense I get in the movie. I think all of that is through Alice's POV at the end, and she obviously survives, so we don't get a kill sequence there. But yeah, no,
because everyone else is pretty much, for the most part, besides Jack, Marcy, and Annie. Like, a lot of the kills are off screen. We just see the bodies, really.
Mm-hmm.
Besides those three.
Yeah, Bill is off screen,
which is fine.
Yeah, you see his corpse.
Bill's off screen.
Steve.
Brenda's off screen.
Yeah.
We know how she's, because she goes out to the friggin', she's an idiot, where she goes out to the, well, she gets arrowed that's what we're implied, that she gets the arrow, because that's where she ends up after she hears Pamela calling again. What a dumbass. But yeah, everyone else is, Ned's off screen, but we do see we see the bodies, but I don't mind the off screen, because then we get longer final act with Alice, which is the strongest part of the movie.
Yeah, for sure.
In my opinion.
Again, I don't think they had a huge budget to work with, so that's probably why we didn't get every single kill screen. But the ones we do get on screen, I actually liked. I enjoyed. So it was.
Me too. I 100% agree.
I don't want to say tamed, but it was tamed. It was pretty tamed compared to other 80s slashers.
I thought the kills that they show, though, like, they're pretty bloody, though.
Yeah, overall, but I'm saying it's tamed. But yeah, the ones that we do get are good, for sure. And they make good use of practical effects, which I love.
So yeah, Tom Savini, man, again, he kills it. So you like Jax the most too, right?
Either him or, as much as I say it, Annie's death, just because it's so... I love the throat slit. I love a good throat slit. I mean, I guess they're both throat injuries, but...
Yeah, his is just a little more...
Yeah.
Fatal injuries, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So what do you think about the final act? Do you like that...
Well, I was going to bring up, what do you think about my comments when I said that I don't know if I'm a huge fan of Alice being the only one discovering the bodies? Do you like that? Do you like that it's just Alice for the entire, when we get the reveal, that, like, when she gets the reveal? Because I kind of wish she had maybe Steve came back and it was her and Steve kind of going through it, and then Steve dies and it's a face-off between her and Pamela. Okay.
I like that it's just Alice.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, it makes it more like personal and scary, because it's just her left on her, like, by herself. It makes it a little more scary. Yeah, I like that it's just her at the end, because the whole movie, then we actually like, all right, we just got Alice, girl. You gotta get this done. You gotta do this. So that's when you kind of have to, like, you're forced to root for her. Not that she's a bad character, but just kind of like, all right, this is our final girl. Like, let's get to it, girl. So yeah, I kind of like that it's just her at the end. Because first of all, once Bill tells her to stay, I'd be like, yo, I'm coming with you, man. Like, what the fuck? What are you telling me to stay for?
Well, yeah, we get her and Bill. They are going around the camp and they realize that something's off. They think it's a prank at first, but credit to Alice, because
they can't find anybody.
She tells Bill, like, we got to call somebody. And then once they realize they can't call anybody, they try to leave in the car, and the car won't start. And Bill's looking at the car, and Alice is just like, "Fuck this! Let's just walk. Let's just go." And I'm with Alice, and Bill's like, "No." He's trying to say, "Oh, it's too far.
Get back in the house."
Yeah, pretty much get back in the house. And I wish Alice would have, like, stuck to her guns and said, "No, I'm leaving this camp, by myself." But
good luck, man.
Like I said, she's a pretty smart, final girl. She knew something was going down. And this was, like I said, before they even discovered any bodies. She's saying, let's fucking hike out of here because something's not right. So you got to give her credit there.
The one thing that Bill is still alive for, that they do discover together the axe in Brenda's bed, and they discover that the phones are disconnected. So he is around for that part, just not the whole body.
Yes.
So they know, get a little bit.
Yeah, they know something's going on, which is why they try to leave,
Right.
Yeah.
But then Steve, he does return, but then obviously he gets killed by Pamela before he makes it back to them. I do like that shot too. He's like, "Oh, it's you," and then he's done. I like that shot, and then obviously the power goes out, so that's why Bill goes to check, and I don't know why he tells her to stay, and I don't know why Alice complies. I'd be like, "Dude, I'm coming.
Yeah,
coming with you. I don't give a shit."
Yeah, so, I know.
But once Bill walks out that house that he's a goner. Once he walks out that house, he's a goner.
Yeah.
100%. Fucking Bill.
Yeah, and then we get the iconic Jeep pulling up, and it's Pamela Voorhees coming out with that big smile.
Love that her. Welcoming camp icon in this movie, Betsy Palmer.
We know, because we know it's Steve died, so she must have went and stole his Jeep, which I thought was stuck, but I guess because she unhitched the trailer, she was able to get it unstuck.
Is it Steve's Jeep? Because she had a Jeep in the beginning with Annie, too.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I always assume it was Steve's Jeep because Alice thinks it's Steve that's pulling up. I never even
thought of that.
It's so dark out that... No, but you're probably right.
That's true.
You're probably right. I'm just assuming that because Alice thinks it's Steve, so I'm assuming it's Steve's Jeep, but you're right that she has a Jeep as well, like a Wrangler. So it's probably her Jeep.
She's probably disoriented from everything she just found. It's like, oh,
it's
shit,
dark
Steve.
and rainy.
Nope,
yeah.
Yeah. Not Steve. It's Pamela motherfucking Voorhees.
Yeah, and again, I love it because Alice just like melts into her arms and just instantly trusts her, and it's like, oh, thank God.
She's motherly.
Yes,
she's a mother.
Yeah. Let's talk about
good. She's a camp
before
icon.
We get into this awesome third act. Right before this happens, well, there's two things I want to talk about. We get the little boy talking. Do you think that's Pamela the whole time?
Yes.
So you don't subscribe to the idea that Jason is out there, like calling for his mom, and that he's alive.
I don't even know where to go with the lore of this movie because they kind of like
it's messy. This is just for fun. I mean, there's no confirmed.
When I first saw it, like as a kid, I was like, "Oh, Jason drowned and he came back. Like he died." But now as I get older, I'm like, he never drowned and he just lived. But I don't know. It's too messy because he eventually turned into a zombie. I'm just like, whatever day I wake up, I'm like, this is, I don't know, whatever mood I'm in. But what I used to think was he drowned and died, and that it made her go crazy. And I think she just convinced herself, and that's why she's talking to herself in Jason's voice. Yeah. I think it's all in her head.
Too.
I think it's all her.
So I believe both. I believe that Jason is alive and that he never drowned, but I also believe that it's not his voice, that it is Pamela fucking with Alice. I mean, Pamela is so unhinged mentally. You know, you see her talking to herself and hearing the hallucinations and stuff. So I do think, I don't really think, even though I think Jason did survive, I don't think it's him out there. I do think it is Pamela the whole time.
Yeah, me too. Okay. 100%.
Okay.
Well, I love because when she eventually does the whole like, kill her, mommy, kill her. It's like she's talking as Jason which is so iconic. That line is so good. But she's talking as him, so it's all like she's a cuckoo bird.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Love her.
And
she didn't want to do this movie, but it's like one of her most iconic roles.
I know.
Like, she was like, I'm not doing this trash. It's so iconic.
Yeah. And real quick, the other scene I want to talk about was right before we get Pamela, we get, I think is it Brenda's body that comes through the window?
Yep, it's thrown through the window, which is hilarious because Mrs. Voorhees threw her body through the window.
That sequence is one of my, I don't know about favorites, but it's what I think of when I think about this movie, other than the third act.
Okay.
That when she runs into the cabin and she takes everything in the living room and boards the door up, like it's such an extended shot. I love it though. It's so funny. And then when we get Brenda's body through the window, I call it her Laurie Strode moment, where she kind of just sinks into the corner and kind of just like collapses. That's my favorite Alice moment in the movie. It's pretty fun. I like that a lot.
I do like that sequence too, when the body is thrown through. She's like, fuck. Yeah. But that's when her terror just goes like an all time. Like
she grabs a bat and like a fork. Yeah. She has the fork and she's holding the bat, like, but she's holding it like halfway up, so she's really not even. She can't get any power behind that bat, so I don't even know what her plan was there.
No, she's so and she's not even holding it properly. She's just fucking terrified.
And then
she's no way she's doing any damage.
Like I said, she does such a good job, and then she just sees a Jeep pull up, and she's like, oh, fuck this, I'm
Yeah.
running to Steve, has no self-preservation in that moment.
Oh,
It could be
Alice.
anyone.
You gotta
Alice,
love
come
her.
on. Yeah. Yeah.
But I do love the build, like once she hugs Mrs. Voorhees, and then the build up, and she slowly reveals
Yes.
like, about her son, like this whole like exposition. I just love how Alice slowly sees, she's like, oh, this woman is the fucking killer and she's crazy. I love the build up of that conversation. How do you feel about that conversation?
It's
so
so
well
well
done.
done. I love the monologue that she gives, Betsy Palmer's
Mhm.
performance in this scene, how she starts off so innocent, like, oh, like, have you heard of my son? Like the different tidbits. And then as she's telling the
Right.
story, even in her voice, you can tell there's something wrong. And then you can see it in Alice's face. I think it's done really well.
Right.
I think it's the strong point of the movie, actually. It's a highlight.
So iconic.
Yeah.
It's like, Jason was my son. Today's his birthday. It's just so well done. And then it's just, it's so good. And then I love how she was yelling at Alex, like, they were too busy making love while he drowned. Like, dude, she wasn't. Like, this girl is not the same counselor.
No, she's
just crazy. She's fucked
crazy.
She's fucked up.
Well, I mean, you see it. She killed Annie before, anything. Annie was innocent too and didn't even let her...
She wants that camp to be, like, done. Like, she doesn't want anyone trying to reopen that shit. So, it's interesting.
To me, we get Jason in the sequels, and Jason has the stereotype of killing counselors that have premarital sex. I mean, that's the trope. But to me,
that's the horror trope.
But to me, Pamela, she doesn't care about sex. I mean, she does, but she just doesn't want that place opened.
She does.
She doesn't want that place opened in general. So she sees a young, pretty counselor, whether or not they're having sex or not. I mean, if they're having sex, that just puts the icing on the cake.
Specifically having sex, though, because that's why Jack and Marcy get it so
yes,
bad. She's like,
but
they did
she
have
doesn't
sex.
discriminate. She just kind of lumps everyone in, and she just blames. She even says it. She's like, "You killed my son," and Alice is like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Like, I wasn't even born." Yeah.
I love Mrs. Voorhees. She doesn't get enough credit because Jason's obviously the big baddie of the entire franchise, but she's the OG, man.
Yes, for sure.
Put some respect on her name. We both gave her shout outs when we talked about Jason in our horror icon villain list classic.
Yes,
and she deserves it because she's up there, man, for female. I mean, Nancy Loomis in Scream 2, all of her inspiration is from Mrs. Voorhees.
If we were to do a female horror villain tier list, it's hard for her not to be number one. I mean, they're so underrepresented. Her and the only one I think of is what's her name from Misery. They're the two that like stand above for me. So yeah, she definitely give them her props. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, she's all, and I love how her and Alice, like, their actual fight is like a cat fight. Like they get down and dirty and fight each other like good girl fight. I always love I love their fight
so
scenes.
You don't mind the pacing at the end of this movie, how extended this is and their chases and stuff?
No, I love it.
You like it?
I always love a good final girl extended sequence. I love it.
Okay.
Yeah, I really do love it. I think that's what really builds up the hype from the whole, like you said, the first half, we kind of just get them hanging out a little bit and then we get right to it. I think that we have so much time with Alice and only Alice is what makes me connect to the movie in the end.
Okay. And I agree with you. Not that she's a bad final girl, but I think it was needed for this particular movie to kind of have Alice on her own for so long. It does. It's not that it forces you because you don't like her, but it does kind of force you. Like, okay, this is her. So
she's all we got. She's all we got, man. But she shows up to the occasion. I mean, obviously she doesn't fare so well in the sequel with Jason, but I love when she fights. I love her fight with Mrs. Voorhees because it feels like they're actually like really fighting.
Yeah.
Rolling around in the dirt and everything. They're going at it.
Yeah, she gets the better of her twice. I mean, obviously the first time when she escapes the cabin, she beats her down.
The pantry and all that,
she kind of just does a weird move and just goes to the lake and kind of just, it's like a little catatonic there. It's just processing everything, but, that was kind of silly.
So what do you think about her kill? What do you think about Pamela Voorhees' severed head? It's iconic. Oh, yeah. I mean, Alice, she chops off her head.
Yeah, the slow-mo. Building up to it, and then the clean
The
chop.
music, like crescending.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, and then the hands kind of searching for the head after it's cut off. I love
Yeah,
that
it's
so
so
much.
good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh yeah. It's like you said, it's we talked about this with the OG Saw, how iconic the ending is. This ending is just, how could you not love it? It's so iconic by this point, you know?
Yeah. She's had it, and she just takes her fucking head off. It's so good.
Yeah.
She grabs that machete. It's so freaking good. And then I love how she's all like, she is kind of, obviously I would be too. She's in shock, but then she gets in the canoe or whatever.
Yeah.
Rolls out. What do you think about the
another strange decision? Let me just go into this canoe.
Just fucking run. Don't go in the water, girl.
Yeah.
And then obviously goes to the next day and it's all nice and pretty out. It's not raining. What do you think about this final jump scare? It's the jump scare. It's one of the all-time jump scares.
What do I think about it? Like, does it work for me, or what do I think about it lore-wise? It works for me, yeah, of course.
Both. I think they're both. It's both.
Yeah.
Just like adds to it.
Yeah, I know. A lot of people think. Well, I don't want to say a lot of people, but I have seen it on the internet that people still subscribe to that it was a dream. I don't think it was a dream. I never thought it was a dream because the officers...
Oh, because she's in the hospital right
well,
after
yeah,
that?
and they confirmed that they
Yeah.
found her in the water. They didn't say that they found you on a boat.
Right.
So she had to get into the water somehow. So I don't know why people think that was not real. I think it was real.
I love that dialogue at the end.
Yeah.
It's so cheesy.
The only thing I have...
The boy in the lake.
kind of an issue with, I don't know, and again, it's Friday the 13th, so it's really not that big of a deal, but I've always wondered why they chose to go with Ari Lehman, who is a kid. Why they chose to do kid Jason, because he's supposed to be like 30 years old by now. So that confuses
That's why a lot
me.
of people subscribe to the idea that he died.
Yeah.
Like he drowned.
But then you get part two.
But that also maybe why people think it's a dream.
Yes.
Because in part two, he's an adult.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at. The reason people think it's a dream, and they do have kind of a leg to stand on, because all of a sudden in part two, he's now a full-grown man. So was he alive?
I think sometimes I think it's a dream too. I don't know.
Yeah.
It can go either way, but I think sometimes when I first watch, I'm like, oh, it's a dream, because I only remember as a kid like going right to the sequel. I'm like, oh no, because Jason's an adult. It's but they mess up the lore a little. Like it's like a shoot like what your opinion is a little bit, because Pamela says he drowned in that lake and he died, but obviously if he's an adult, he didn't drown.
I did read somewhere that they weren't, when they wrote this script, they weren't initially preparing like a ton of sequels, obviously, because you don't know how the first one's going to do. So I think they kind of wrote that in last minute to kind of set up Jason for the sequels.
Oh, of course.
So I don't think they really were too concerned about the details.
And again, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm not going to nitpick that. It's just Friday the 13th.
No, I was just curious to hear
your
interpretation. Yeah.
No, I don't know, but I get people thinking it's a dream 100%.
Yeah.
But I just love when the cop's like, there was no boy, and Alice like, oh, well, then he's still out there. It's like, all right, cue the sequel.
I know.
Let's go.
Yeah.
It's great cheesy fun. I love this movie. Come on, how can you not love Friday the 13th?
Yeah. I do too.
It kicks off. I mean, it kicks off an iconic franchise, and it's able to kick it off without having Jason, which you can't say that about many OGs. They don't. They have their baddie in the original, so this is pretty
unique.
That's impressive.
Yeah, for sure. Because
that's what makes it unique and stand out from the other, countless ripoffs.
Yeah, and even watching this movie back, you still feel Jason in the movie. Knowing that there's no Jason, knowing that it's Pamela, it still feels connected, and you feel Jason's presence. If that makes sense. They did a really good job of
100%
doing that, like throwing a body through a window.
Now you don't have to say. I don't want to get into but is this? Because we're gonna rank this franchise. I don't know when. One Friday the 13th. Yeah. Is this in your upper half of your Is this upper half of Friday the 13th?
Upper half, yeah, definitely upper half.
Okay, I was just curious. Me too, for sure. Me too.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would find it.
You gotta put respect on it.
Yeah, I would find it pretty hard. I would love to hear someone's opinion that doesn't have it in at least the upper half.
Yeah, for me, it's just like disrespectful because it's the OG.
Yeah. I know it doesn't do anything super nuts, but it's just a solid slasher for the early 80s, especially. And it's a solid foundation. It's an iconic ending. It doesn't have the best of anything, I don't think. It like the POV shots are pretty cool. The score is cool, but it's not as good as, Halloween, obviously. Not that it's fair. It's not really a fair comparison, but it doesn't do anything best, but it does everything really, really well.
Right.
And like you said, it sets up the franchise so perfectly.
And it's also not trying to be something that it's not. It knows what it is, and that's why I also think has its charm. It's not trying to do anything besides just be a 90-minute slasher that took inspiration from one of the most successful independent slasher movies of all time, and camp it up a bit. Yeah,
for sure.
And I that's why I adore it.
Oh, cool. So that's Friday the 13th. Pretty much covered most of it. Is there anything else you wanted to cover about the movie?
No, I mean, it's a nice, quick... I mean, it's a quick and easy movie to talk about because it is quick and easy. But that's what makes it great.
Okay. We'll do... I mean, I guess we can do final thoughts. We kind of just summed it up, but, it's an iconic first entry to one of the most iconic franchises in horror and slasher history. It spawned Jason with the hockey mask. There wouldn't be Jason without this first movie and without Sean S. Cunningham. So, I have a soft spot for first entries of franchises. I kind of give them a little bit of a nod because they started it all. It's not I will say it's not my absolute favorite in the franchise, but you really can't go wrong. Okay. I know you said when you did your rewatch today or this weekend, you kind of just had it on in the background. You really can't go wrong on like a Friday the 13th or a summer night or a cool, chilly fall evening, just throwing it on, grabbing some popcorn. And
I agree.
It's just fun. The atmosphere's there. The score is there. The characters are super simple, so you don't have to like follow along. It's just a fun time, and it's kind of got that formula for a slasher that makes it rewatchable, I think.
It works. It works. Now, you asked me the question I'm going to ask you. Is this in, like, when a Friday the 13th rolls around, is this in the rotation of Friday the 13th movies for you? Like, every time? Or
yeah, we've talked about this. I don't have as many traditions as you do. Like you have. I know for the Halloween season, you have, like, a list of 100 movies.
If you did, though, like, if like Friday, this coming Friday, if you had time to watch a few Friday the 13th movies, is this one of them?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
All right.
If I was cutting out a time of my night, like around the holiday or whatever, or I wanted to do a Friday the 13th weekend, I would definitely watch this first. Because I kind of would if I was going to watch it, I would watch it first. And I think, I think I've always watched it first whenever I've watched a few of these.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, I'm just curious because there's so many of these damn movies that people probably have a shit ton of different rotations they do for this.
Oh yeah, and
but it's always good to have the OG in it.
Yeah, we get the sequels. Like this movie compared to like Jason X, like that would be hard to do back to back. Like they're so different. But so like sometimes I'm in the mood for a Jason X, so I won't watch this movie. 100%. But yeah, if I'm in the mood for like a good Friday the 13th watch, like watching a few of the movies, definitely start with this one for sure. Start with the OG.
Good. Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong because this is a Mrs. Voorhees' movie.
And you kind of get
she
that.
She is brought up throughout the franchise.
I was just going to say that she's brought up, and you kind of, by watching this first, you kind of get that connection to Pamela. So then when you follow Jason in the sequels, you get that connection to his mother.
100%.
So, yeah, I think it's important.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was just curious. So yeah, this guy's Friday 13th. I mean, want to do our split up moments for the score?
Yeah, sure. We didn't do a poll this week.
I kind of did one nonchalantly like a little while ago, so as of right now you're winning, so let's roll with that.
Okay. I went first last time. I was planning on letting you go first, but I didn't know you did a poll, but since I won again, I guess I'll go first. I'll take advantage of it.
Yeah, go
okay.
first.
This is tough because there really isn't a ton. I mean, it's a slasher, so you're always kind of just expecting dumb moments and never split up moments. But again, these characters are so oblivious to what's happening that they just think they're alone in the woods. So until you get Alice, and Alice obviously survives. So I'm not going to pick Alex. I'm going to go with, just because this scene bothers me so much, I'm going to go with Marcy. I'm going to go with Marcy's death in the shower. Marcy. Yeah, in the bathroom. She's just so, like, she's in the bathroom, she hears the door, she knows someone's in there, and then all of a sudden she's at the sink, like, singing to herself and doing the Audrey Hepburn impersonation. It's like, do you have any self-awareness at all? And then she hears the sound again, and she's kind of like, huh, what's going on? And she's just so
she walks towards it
and so oblivious that I always just kind of cringe every time that scene happens. So I'm going to go with Marcy's death for sure.
Okay, cool. That's a good pick. I'm gonna go with Annie getting in that fucking Jeep to someone who didn't speak one word to her. Like, girl. God. And the guy just told you in the car before, don't go there, and then you have someone picking you up, not saying a word, gonna take you closer to there. Annie, you could have been our final girl if you just were a little bit smarter. So yeah, it always bothers me every time she gets in that Jeep. And then she even waits a little bit after Pamela starts speeding up. And then she's like, okay, we're past, it turns back there. I'm like, girl, you got to be a little more proactive. So that's because I'm getting so upset that she dies. So that's my Never Split Up.
Yeah.
Annie gets into that Jeep. Hitchhikes and gets into that Jeep. I was
hoping you weren't going to pick that, my girl Annie. But I know that's such a moment. The only way I compartmentalize and rationalize it is knowing that it is Pamela in that driver's seat. That it kind of lets her guard down, similar to Alice. So that's why she's a little trusting.
I would agree with that, but like Pamela doesn't say one fucking word. I'd be like, this bitch is crazy.
But she's got like the sweater on, and she's got the nice mom haircut. So yeah, I know.
Annie's just asking a bunch of questions. She's just not like saying one word. I'm like, girl, you done wrong.
Yeah, she's talking about how she like loves kids and she like wants to, just feel fulfilled in life. I'm like, girl, what are you doing? I know.
So Annie and Marcy, man, they both made some boo-boos.
For sure. All right, I'm going to let you go first for your score now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this is hard because it's Friday the 13th. It's one of the like all-time franchises and it's a great OG. It's hard for me to like score it. I adore it. I've seen it. It might be one of the Friday the 13th I've seen the most. Pamela Voorhees is an icon, a legend. She makes this movie, and I like Alice's third act. The kills are pretty awesome. I don't know. This movie's special. I'm gonna give it an 8.5.
Oh, great score! Yeah, 8.5. That's great. Awesome.
Yeah, I mean it's Friday the 13th. I have to.
Yeah. No, I agree with you with most things. I feel like we were on the same page with this review. I know it doesn't make for a great podcast episode when we agree. I kind of like when we disagree sometimes. I think it makes better content, but I feel like we're very much on the same page with this movie. I'm going to give this movie a solid 8.0.
Okay, so we're not too far off. Yeah. Cool.
Yep.
Because I think the franchise as a whole is more all-timer for me rather than like a specific installment as well. So that's why I'm not comparing to the nines, if that makes sense.
Yeah, me too. And like I said, this movie does a lot of things really well. It doesn't do anything the best. So that's why. But 8 is like, it's fucking solid. It's a solid movie. Yeah. Right. It's got a great ending. The ending sticks to landing. That's really what I think puts it into that 8 category for me.
I agree. Yeah, it makes it like very, very great and awesome. Okay, cool. Good score.
Awesome. So, we are chugging right along with our Halloween schedule. We only have, a few episodes left. It's freaking insane. We only have a few weeks left until Halloween. Do you want to cover real quick? It's on our Twitter and Instagram, but do you want to go over the episodes we have remaining on our schedule?
Yes.
I
can't believe that it's already like 3 almost halfway through left. October.
Yes, I know. It's crazy.
So, so after Friday the 13th this week, next week we're going to do a little fun episode we mentioned earlier. We're going to both talk about our favorite Halloween-themed horror movies. So, actually, we want to hear recommendations from you too. So if there's any we haven't seen, we can check them out. So get those lists ready. That's going to be a fun little episode conversation. And the following week, it's the next 2 episodes are going to be like huge. After that, we're going to talk about, I don't know how, but we're going to talk and discuss and review the original Halloween, which I don't even know how to begin that. So we're going to do that the week before Halloween. It's going to drop the 25th. Okay. And then on the 31st, talk about disagreeing. The 31st, our Halloween franchise ranking is going to drop on Halloween, and we have different opinions on installments. So that's going to be a spicy episode. But it's going to be fun because we're going to have a guest, Phil. If you know Phil from Phil at the Movies, he also is a big Halloween guy. So we thought that was the best episode to have him come on and get his input and have 3 people, because everyone has a shit ton of different Halloween franchise rankings and everyone's so passionate. So I think that's going to be a good 3-way conversation to get another voice in there. I'm really excited for that. And that's our special Halloween episode. So it will drop on October 31st. And I'm very excited for that one.
Great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to all those episodes. I'm already sweating about this Halloween episode, this Halloween review. I'm already it's already in the back of my mind, like, how the hell are we going to tackle this? Because, we tackled an all-timer for you in the OG Scream, and that took forever. But now we're tackling both of our favorite movies. So it's going to be a big one. I can't wait for that. But in the meantime, happy Friday the 13th, everybody. I will actually be at this upcoming weekend on the 14th and 15th. I am traveling to Maryland to Monster Mania, and I will be there hanging out. I will be in a full Jason cosplay. So if anyone happens to be there and sees a 6'4" Jason walking around, say hi to me. That will be me. It's going to be a fun time. They're doing a really cool Friday the Final Chapter reunion. They're getting a bunch of the actors from nice. That movie. Corey Feldman's going to be there, and they're also getting a few more Jasons signing autographs. I'm going to get more autographs for my collectible mask. That's up there, so that's going to be a fun time. But I'm excited for that. I'm excited for our new episodes coming out in the coming weeks. In the meantime, check out our previous episodes. We just covered our Saw franchise rankings. We did the OG Saw. We did The Exorcist. That was a really good episode. So if you haven't caught up on all of our Halloween episodes, check that out. And in the meantime, look for us on Twitter /X and Instagram. That's where we post our polls every week to vote for your Never Split Up Moment poll. You can find us at neversplituppod on those. And we're also on Facebook. And I think that's it. Anything else, Ant, before we say goodbye?
No, I'm looking forward to these last few weeks of October. I can't believe it's flying by, but we're in it. We're in spooky season. We're in the Halloween season. Yep. Can't wait. Happy Friday the 13th, everybody.
For sure. Definitely. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.